Keith was a deeply flawed human being.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at iconoclasts whose expertise and experience exposed cruel cults.
I think it's really important to tell someone your story and not keep it a secret.
John Krakauer, Warren Jeff's Mormon sect. Published in 2003, John Krakauer's book Under the Banner of Heaven exposes the fundamental branch of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
The book argues the roots of their crime lie deep in the history of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
The story focuses on the authoritarian control of Warren Jeffs and the influence he held over his followers, resulting in everything from polygamy and arranged child marriage to tax avoidance. In 1984, brothers Dan and Ron Lafferty murdered their meddling sister-in-law Brenda, along with her infant daughter Erica, believing it to be a divine order.
Ron and Dan Lafferty claimed God had told them to kill their sister-in-law and niece.
Krakauer's work helped link the Lafferty murders to the sect's extremism, raising awareness and leading to Jeff's conviction for child abuse. Margaret Singer, the Symbionese Liberation Army. In the 1970s, psychologist Margaret Singer testified that heiress Patty Hearst was brainwashed by the Symbionese Liberation Army after they kidnapped her.
How in the world does the granddaughter of William Randolph Hearst become a terrorist?
She was tried with the far-left militant group for participating in their string of bank robberies. After a rejection from the prosecutors on the grounds that brainwashing had never been accepted as a judicial field of expertise, the judge decided to not present Singer's testimony to the jury.
A case of potential brainwashing that 4 decades later still stands out as wholly unique.
In all of our history, there is no case like Patty Hearst.
Hearst was ultimately convicted and sentenced to 35 years in prison. The value of Singer's testimony wasn't recognized until after she took her insights to the media. The sentence was reduced to 7 years, then commuted by President Carter in 1979. Hearst was formally pardoned by President Clinton in 2001.
Her sentence was first commuted by President Carter, and she was later pardoned by President Clinton.
Lauren Drain, Westboro Baptist Church. Classified as a hate group, the Westboro Baptist Church is known for picketing national tragedies, engaging in various forms of hate speech, and breaking apart families.
Aren't you the most hated family in America?
Lord, I hope so. What a compliment you're paying me, except the last time somebody said that to me and wanted to know, did that make you mad? And I said, yeah, it made me mad, because what you should have done was say we're the most hated family in the world.
Among their members was Lauren Drain, who was brought into the radical group by her father when she was just 15. As she grew older, she began to question the church's doctrine, resulting in her excommunication just before her 22nd birthday.
It was very traumatic. When it first happened, I wasn't ready for it, I didn't expect it.
After spending time away from the church, Lauren reflected on how the church took her still devout family away from her and manipulated its followers through isolation and Puritanism. Drain shared her experience with the world in her memoir, Banished, exposing the church's radical nature.
It wasn't until afterwards I realized how much harm and destruction I had done to other families and how awful that was.
Jean-Marie Abgral, Various. Criminologist Jean-Marie Abgral views cults not as religious groups, but a crime syndicate. He has worked in some of France's highest courts and the Interministerial Mission for Vigilance and Action Against Sectarian Aberrations. This controversial government agency aims to analyze cult movements, organize official responses, and educate the public on their potentially predatory behaviors. Targets have included yoga groups, the Church of Scientology, and even Jehovah's Witnesses, prompting legal backlash. Some say that Abgral's views on brainwashing theory are a bit extreme, but they help us spot potentially criminal motivations behind certain groups. Steve Hassan, Unification Church, et al. Licensed mental health counselor Steve Hassan takes an empathetic approach to cult deprogramming in the form of exit counseling.
Is there such a thing as a benign cult?
Definitely. Yeah, of course.
Through his experiences in a radical sect of the Unification Church, Hassan suggests that a lighter, more passive approach is needed for some people to be disillusioned from their oppressive leaders. Instead of coercive deprogramming techniques, Hassan introduced the BITE model.
The BITE model offers my cutting-edge approach for how anyone can evaluate whether or not they've been a victim of mind control.
Standing for Behavior, Information, Thought, and Emotional Control, the unconventional model seeks to educate the families of cult members on how their loved ones became so endeared with the sect in the first place. This gives them deeper insight on how to proceed with non-coercive exit counseling and critical thinking.
You want to find out for yourself and trust that you have the ability to know and to fact check whether or not things are true or not.
Paul Morantz, Synanon. As both an investigative journalist and a legal attorney, Paul Morantz was a man who not only actively spoke out against cult-like groups, but pursued them in court.
They took people in, people who didn't have money, people who had nowhere to go, and they were put through the Synanon system.
The most notable was Synanon. In 1977, Morantz was taking on multiple former members as clients, representing them in cases against a rehab program that practiced therapy through abuse.
The system basically in Synanon is largely rewards and punishment. You reward good behavior and you punish bad behavior.
Claiming that his clients were being brainwashed and even trained in the martial art of Sindo. It was probably this type of training that led to a rattlesnake being left inside Morantz's mailbox. His near-death experience showed the world just how far some radical groups will go to silence their enemies. Synanon finally disbanded in 1991.
Synanon disbanded in 1991 after several members were convicted of crimes, including the founder, who admitted to a conspiracy to commit murder.
Barbara Boucher, NXIVM. Being on the executive board for NXIVM and in a relationship with leader Keith Raniere, Barbara Boucher was a high-ranking member of the so-called Personal Development Company.
Told me that he had dreams for 2 or 3 years and visions before I came that someone like me was coming.
That was until the year 2009, when the financial planner and 8 associates voiced concerns over unethical practices and sexual exploitation. Raniere dismissed the accusers at once, causing them to resign as a direct response.
When I left, I was the highest ranking person to ever leave, and a significant person, and that really threw a curveball and opened up Pandora's box.
Boucher thus led the NXIVM 9 to warn of these alarming behaviors for years. Unfortunately, it took until 2018 for Raniere to eventually get caught trafficking members of his own sect. Barbara and about 80 more victims would testify against him in court, resulting in a sentence of 120 years in prison.
Raniere, who described himself as a self-help guru, was sentenced at a federal court in Brooklyn to 120 years behind bars.
Rick A. Ross, Various. Cult specialist and deprogrammer Rick Alan Ross founded the Cult Education Institute.
You take those 3 elements together, the leader, thought reform, and damage done, exploiting the people, which varies by degree from group to group, and that is the defining features of a destructive cult.
He has spent decades bringing awareness to the dangers of cult groups and their behaviors. Over that time, he handled hundreds of deprogramming cases and appeared for several major television network interviews.
The education in the process of an intervention is to make the person aware of how they've been manipulated.
He was most notably a CBS analyst during the Waco siege of the Branch Davidians. To this day, Ross continues to inform the public of these dangers on the CEI's YouTube channel. This has cemented his legacy as one of, if not the leading expert in the field.
If you look for those common characteristics or warning signs, you can begin to determine whether a group is potentially unsafe or not.
Mike Rinder, Church of Scientology. Heading up the Office of Special Affairs for the Church of Scientology meant that Mike Rinder knew the ins and outs of the organization's sketchy inner workings.
You have to lie because there's nothing else that you can do.
In fact, filing lawsuits to hush critics and punishing members was his actual job. Anything the church needed done, Rinder was the man to do it, right up until the tables turned.
I feel like if people understand and know that I am telling the truth, then that's really all I can do.
Years of being beaten, imprisoned, and accused of plotting against leader David Miscavige disillusioned Rinder. He left in 2007 to expose the system of violence embedded in the church. Through writing, YouTube, and the media, one of Scientology's greatest defenders, became one of its greatest critics until his death from cancer in 2025.
Well, one of the most outspoken critics of the Church of Scientology died yesterday in Palm Harbor. Tonight, former Scientologists say they plan to keep Mike Rinder's mission alive.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into settings and switch on your notifications. Deborah Layton, Jonestown. Deborah Layton traveled from the U.S. to Guyana to join Jonestown's stated mission of equality and social justice. She wound up becoming a key member in Jim Jones's People's Temple, even working her way to being the cult preacher's financial officer.
Jim Jones came along and offered them something. They trusted him and they believed him, but he was a crazy son of a and he was willing to see them all die.
But witnessing Jones's true nature firsthand confirmed his increasing paranoia, substance use, and manipulation tactics. Layton eventually returned to the U.S., where she submitted a sworn affidavit cautioning about Jones's community. Her testimony was ignored, allowing the Jonestown massacre to take place just a few months later.
I have been afraid for 18 years to tell anybody who I was, that I wouldn't be accepted, that I'd be hated, that I'd be shunned.
Who else deserves praise for exposing how desperate souls can be lured by predatory organizations? Raise awareness in the comments.
Hearst is the only person in U.S. history to have her sentence commuted by one president and then be pardoned by a second.